We are live. Hey, everybody, welcome. I wanted to let you know that today we're going to talk about the power of a dream and vision. I've got my really good friend, Joe Yin, with us today. Joe's created an incredibly powerful dream for his life, and he's got a great story. And we thought maybe it would encourage you today. So we're just going to be having a fun conversation here. And I wanted to remind you of who I am. I'm Damon Stoddard. I founded Change University, and I founded this group, Help You Fight for Your Family. So with that, let's get started. Hey, Joe, how you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, buddy. Sure is great to have you as a friend and part of Change University.
Yes, I am very blessed.
Yeah, so hey, we've known each other for a number of years. Just for the benefit of the audience, would you share how we know each other?
So we first met about 2.5 years ago when my son enrolled in the Cedar Park Christian School's junior football program. He was 6 at that time, and I think your son was part of that team. You were the head coach, and I was not involved in any of the coaching activities, so I just saw you on the sidelines. We didn't have much conversation then. So last year, my son enrolled in the 89ers. He was 8 years old now, and you, I thanked you when you sent the announcement, and you just suddenly invited me to be a coach, and I said, I never played football growing up. What value could I provide? And you encouraged me to come to the coach meeting at 6 a.m., which is so early that I never get up that early. But you keep encouraging me and put pressure on me, and I showed up to meet some of the new coaches, and it just continued to change my life after that. So
So what did you think of being a football coach, even though you didn't know anything about football?
So football team is like a machine. There are many different parts. I found out that I didn't have to be a football guru to be part of a useful part of the machine. So I picked up the safety and equipment role, and I worked on that diligently, and I gained respect from other coaches, and I tried to help as much as I could during the practice, holding the bags and to encourage the kids. And it was a great experience. We could talk about hours and hours of our experience because we were together several hours, 4 times a week, and just so much stories I can talk about.
Yeah, you know, Joe, one of the things that I remember about you very distinctly, you were always early, and you always stayed around. You were the last one to leave, and I said, I really like Joe. I want to get to know Joe as a friend. He's a man that has high integrity, and he's a man that I can count on. And so I wanted to get to know you. So we went out and we watched a movie a few weeks later, or about a couple months later, right? And you invited me to lunch. Or I invited you to lunch to talk about work, right?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me just a bit about that. I'll share with the gang here that I pulled up a little early and Joe was early, and I always love to be early. You'll see that. But Joe was in his van and he was sitting there reading a Bible. And I thought, this is interesting. Joe's reading the Bible, and he had a big smile on his face, and he said, yeah, I'm almost done reading my first Bible. This was the Bible that that our former chaplain gave my son a couple of years ago. And I said, wow, that's pretty amazing. So tell me about that lunch, Joe. Tell people about that lunch.
So we set up that lunch to talk about possibly me going back to Microsoft to work with your help with some referrals and guidance. But the conversation quickly changed to something different that you didn't expect and I didn't expect. But we started talking about the Bible reading. And I shared why I started reading that Bible, because I wanted to learn about the Bible so I can coach my son for his homework. I didn't read the Bible to change myself, but the Bible reading just started this cascading effect. And I think reflecting back, it's really the starting point of a big change in my life and my family's life. And that journey, that meeting, that lunch, I just opened up to you, I felt. And I talked about my family struggle, my difficult relationship with my daughter, who was becoming a teenage girl, and my difficult relationship with my wife, and also as my spanking my son after she made me really angry, and just all kinds of things that I couldn't control in my emotions, and I said I was almost done with reading the Bible, and you started giving me advice.
So, you know, I remember that you I'd shared with you that a couple weeks earlier I had gotten angry with my daughter and kind of spoke to her harshly. And I told you that. Do you remember what I told you, how I responded to that when I realized what I'd done wrong? Do you recall that?
You asked for forgiveness, if I remember correctly. And
that's correct,
you also mentioned something like you totally lost it, or in some car conversation with your kids. Maybe it was a later session, but you kept talking about things you have done wrong, and how did you correct it? And asking for forgiveness is not something I have ever done. You know, if I know something I felt bad that I did, I would just walk away and let just time just lighten the memory, and that's totally new to me.
Joe, so sometimes we make mistakes as dads, and when we do that, sometimes we have to make it right. And when I told you that I sometimes make mistakes, that when I make mistakes, I like to have integrity, which is reducing the time span between mess up and fess up. And I asked for forgiveness. And I told you that when I was a little bit harsh with my daughter, I asked for forgiveness, and she jumped in my lap and she gave me a hug and she says, "It's okay, Daddy. I love you anyway." So how did you start asking your kids for forgiveness when you made mistakes?
You encouraged me to do that. You encouraged me to go to my son, and even encouraged me to go to my wife for asking for forgiveness. I am starting. It has been 3 or 4 months since the first encouragement, and you continue to encourage me as we had our coaching calls later. I'm starting to do that, but I don't think I have reached the degree of maturity that you were demonstrating.
It's all a journey. We all trust me. You only get to see the good parts of me, Joe. So you how has that changed? How has asking forgiveness? How has that changed your family?
I think it was always opportunity to open up, and you also encouraged me during that conversation to have more one-to-one with my wife, have lunch or have dinners, and we started forming the new habit of, if I don't do a lunch with my wife every week, I will feel behind, and then I ask her for forgiveness for things that I have done in the past that made her lose faith in my family, in my commitment to the family, and also my ignoring the kids and pursuing my own dreams without being considerate about the impacts to the family. So all kinds of things, and and that asking for forgiveness, and really, sometimes I can see she has tears in her eyes, and I kind of also choke a little bit, and it's just a very good kind of reconciliation process.
Yeah, Joe. So let me just share for the listeners on here. We are all human. Everybody makes mistakes, and what we want to do when we make mistakes is we want to cover up those mistakes and act like they didn't happen. But that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is when you make mistakes, ask for forgiveness, make it right, and move forward. And that way, the things that are happening don't keep piling up and causing damage in your relationship, right? And would you say that since you've started doing this, how are the quality of your relationships with your kids now versus before, and your wife?
So I have always been conscious about dealing with them after that, and the most difficult challenge is my daughter, and I felt that there was no communication. You could have all kinds of tools and processes, but if you have no communication, you cannot implement those. You cannot talk to them, you cannot communicate with them, and it's no effect. So I'm lucky that my son is still young and he still likes to talk. We have a good communication channel. But sometimes even with wife, when we are in a bad mood, our communication channel just closed. So I'm becoming more conscious about my emotion, and I do, when I get upset, I don't explode anymore. And I see my wife still exploding. And then I just show how I respond in a gentle way, in a controlled way. Then quite often she would apologize, after staying alone for a few hours or overnight, saying, "Oh, even this morning she did that. She was in a bad mood last night, and then this morning I sent her an encouraging note, as you suggested, saying I enjoyed it so much when you smile again this morning," and then she asked for apology from me too.
Yeah.
So it's my change, I feel, is impacting the kids and my wife, and I'm trying to be a role model.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job of that, Joe. I just want to kind of reiterate here. We're all human, right? We're all human, and I think that we would like to hide it. But as the leader of our home, when we humbly go before our family, or before our children, when we make a mistake and we say, "Will you forgive us? Forgive me?" It shows them that we are human, and it allows them to be more open and vulnerable with us. Stated differently, a lot of the people on this call, a lot of the people that are watching this, Joe, they're struggling with their relationships. They may be separated with their wife. They may be struggling with their kids, and they're wondering what to do. And I just want to encourage everybody, ask forgiveness. Here's what I encourage. You say, "I was wrong. Will you forgive me?" I was wrong. Will you forgive me? Saying sorry is not asking for forgiveness, but saying, "I was wrong. Will you please forgive me?" Opens up the doors for communication, because it takes all that pain and that suffering and the things that have happened and it puts them in the past. Have you found that to be the case, Joe?
Yes, and you encouraged me to reflect on the incorrect behaviors I had with my daughter when she was younger. I recalled very hard, I pushed her too hard during her swim practice, and I pushed her to jump into the pool when she didn't want it, and I spanked her hands when she showed up late for our homework sessions. I was just too harsh on her. Probably that burned a lot of the connections I had with my daughter. And then in recent years, I focused too much on my work, and I argue with my wife, and that also probably built some disconnection with my daughter. So it's all, we have to look really in the history of our connection with her, with all the relationship we work with. So yeah, I remember vividly that you suggested that I think about what actions I can take. And because I do not have good communication channel with my daughter, that was the first action I took after the meeting, which was I started writing letters to my daughter.
You started writing letters to your daughter? Wow.
Yeah. And she wouldn't talk to me. When we're sitting in the cars driving to the swim pool for half an hour, she would not talk. I don't want to push her to talk. And you encourage me to think about actions I can take that's under my control. That was, remember that vividly in that session. So I think writing letters is under my control. Whether she read it or not, it's not under my control. But I don't care. I just do what I can do.
And is that quality of your relationship with your daughter getting better?
Yes.
Significantly better, correct?
She may not have read every letter that I wrote her. She's just dumping them in the drawer sometimes. but I can see that while I am continue to do more service, do more house chores, to be more considerate, to be more tender to every member of the family, she is showing more appreciation. She started thanking me without me expecting the thanks. And actually, this morning, before we left for school, I reached out to her in the car, kiss me, and she did. So,
oh wow! Congratulations! Yeah,
he was in a better mood. I can't expect that every time, you know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Up and down, up and down. I just have to find the right moment to build the next level of intimacy. Yeah.
So just for the benefit of the viewers, let me kind of recap here what's going on. So Joe was struggling with quality of his relationship with his daughter, and I recommended that Joe read this book called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. And in this book, the author states that the strongest predictor of the quality of a woman's life is going to be dependent upon the strength of the relationship she has with her father. And Joe came to me, and he was struggling with his relationship with his daughter, and his daughter's 12. And I got to tell you, we all struggle with relationships with our 12-year-old daughter. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. I've raised 2 others. It's a challenging time. But what they need most from us is a need that God gave them, which is they need to be loved. Even when they are acting unloving, they need to be loved. And Joe did things that were in his control to show her that he loved her, even though she didn't respond. Right, Joe? Even though she didn't respond, he made a decision. I'm going to go into lecture mode a little bit. I do this when I'm passionate about something. I apologize, everybody. But Joe made a decision. He could allow his daughter's attitude and her mood to push him away, or he could say, she needs my love. I'm going to love her even more. I'm going to control the things that are in my control, and I'm going to love her. And what Joe did is he made a decision to consistently love her. And as a result of that consistently loving her, his relationship is getting better and better and better. And she will turn out to be a much, much better woman because Joe has made this decision. Now, I want to challenge everybody here. You have daughters, you have sons, but you also have wives. And your wives may have decided to leave you. Your wives may have decided that they don't want to be with you. I want to challenge you. Instead of blaming them for the problems that you have, do what Joe did. Say, what are the things that I can control that can show her that I love her? And do those things consistently. And you'll be amazed at the things that happen. Am I right, Joe?
Yes. And one thing I think you learned from me is I started washing my wife and my daughter's feet after reading some of the devotional you recommended.
Yes.
And that's after, listening and reading about Jesus washing his disciples' feet.
Yes,
so we use this foot spa. And I initially tried to do it for my wife, but my daughter really enjoyed it. And then that relationship, when she sits there, put her feet in the warm water, and I kept pouring more hot water into the foot spa. When it gets colder, she just opened up and talked to me. And we talk about school, we talk about this and that. And it's just women need, I think, a tender care, whether it's daughter or wife. We have to show our service to them. That's what I learned.
Boy, Joe. So Joe said, hey, I've been massaging my wife and my daughter's feet, and it's been great. And I took them up on the challenge, and I've done it 2 times. And I got to tell you, it's some of the most precious times we have as a family. And it's not hard, guys. All you spend $22 on Amazon. You get this foot spa, and then you put warm water in it. You put your wife's feet in it, and you sit there. And then when they come out, you just warm them up with a towel, and you put a warm slipper on, like Joe said. And boy, they open up like nobody's business. I think this is the epitome of serving our wives. I think this is the epitome of loving our wives. And I think it's a great little tactic that we can do to show them how much we love them. And I appreciate you for that, Joe. I appreciate for that. So speaking of water, you and I took a little dip a couple months ago. What happened there?
Which water?
Well, it was at this place on Sunday.
Sorry, remind me.
I'm sorry. So we were in a tank together a couple months ago. What happened there? At church.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
No, I think we should finish the conversation about that first lunch. I was almost finished my reading of the Bible, and you, and I told you I don't know what next step is on the spiritual journey, and how do I become a Christian or something? What's the next step? You said it's simple. You said it was simple. You just read a prayer following me, and you read the sinner's prayer, and I read it. Not read. I spoke together with you. So February 12 of 2018 was the day that I said the sinner's prayer. I was not a Christian. My family was not a Christian.
Oh, okay.
And that was the day I think I became a Christian when we said that prayer. And you encouraged me to talk to the church where my children go to school and talk to the pastor to think about the next step. So on March 18, about 5 weeks after our lunch meeting, I became baptized at the church.
Yeah.
And you were there with our pastor, and I appreciate that so much. My special experience. And actually, I have the picture that was shown for the event invitation was taken on that day, and there were 2, 3, 4, 8 men, including me. I have the picture on my wall. Actually, I will take this. This is the certificate the church sent me. I hang it on the wall, and I also framed this picture, and it's on my wall. So
that's awesome, Joe. That's all. Thanks for letting me be part of that. I think it's interesting that picture shows you with 8 other guys. How important have you learned it? How important is it, do you think, for men to be in connection and later small group with other men?
So I would say that my spiritual journey and my opening up to Christianity, to reading the Bible, and immediately have that kind of understanding, it was the influence of the junior football coaching experience. We had 8 dedicated fathers, including me, to coach the 26 boys. And every week on a Tuesday morning, we would be getting together at the Perena Bread to talk about the plan for the team. And we also started praying for the kids and praying for each other. And remember vividly that at one session, you asked each of us talk about our struggles, what's bothering us in our personal life. That was totally unrelated to the football that we were there to talk about. And that was my first experience of a small group kind of spiritual discussion. And that felt really good. And I felt closer immediately to each one of them. And I think the power of small group is it needs to be one you trust and open up. And then their struggles and you understand your struggle is not alone. And you give each other positive energy. And that has been changing just every week. There's a more positive energy coming to you.
Yeah. And that's one of the things you do right now in Change University is you guys meet every week with a group of a couple other guys. Is that right?
Yes, and we meet every Thursday morning from 6 to 7:30, and we started with what went well this past week and what didn't go well, and what can we help each other. And this is continue to build the trust and understand. And we came to the meeting without thinking about each other, but when we hear about the stories, a lot of good ideas just immediately pour out. And by giving advice to others, sometimes we feel better ourselves.
Good point. Yeah.
Helping others actually help ourselves. Yeah.
The Bible says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And it sounds like you're really experiencing that in that group.
Yes. And
Yes. So Joe, you one of the things I asked you to do in Change University was to write a dream. And just for everybody's benefit on the call, in my book, in chapter 3, I talk about the power of a dream and vision. I talked about a season of my life when I was depressed, separated from my wife, separated from my daughter, and I didn't know what to do. And I met with a friend, and he said, you know, Damon, the Bible says, without a vision, the people perish. And the Bible also says to record the vision and inscribe it on tablets so that the one who reads it may run. And so, Joe, I challenged you to write a dream. Could you read that dream to us? And
so you gave me your book on our February 12 lunch. And I read that vividly. I read that immediately after reading the Bible. And I have to say, the Bible started the journey of reading books, and your book also built a solid foundation of continue the journey of reading books and learn from other stories. So without reading your book, I wouldn't have been able to write this because
thank you.
I didn't understand what is life dream is. What is unifying life principle? I didn't understand that before. So now I understood. So I wrote this dream and unifying life principles within maybe half an hour.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it just poured out of my head.
Poured out of your heart. It poured out of your heart, man.
After a few weeks of Change University, and also the inspiration that the Bible and your book and all the others gave me. So Joe's dream. My dream for this earthly life is to lead my immediate family and future generations into the Christian life. 3 generations of us will sit at the dinner table to pray and discuss our daily experience and spiritual journey with God and Jesus without feeling weird or restrained. All of us will see the holy principles to guide our everyday behaviors, love each other, and share our love and resources with others, even strangers. My children and their children will be able to travel around the world to spread the good news of Jesus and change my lives in the same way my life change many lives in the same way my life is being changed. After my children grow up and lead their own lives, they will stay closely in touch with my wife and I, no matter where they are, via voice and video calls. We will live closely or even together with our children so we can be blessed with close relationship with our grandchildren. My children will be men and women of integrity and high self-esteem. They will not only carry on the family traditions and wisdom we give them, but also create new and enhanced ones based on their own spiritual learning and worldly practice. Thus carry on the generational blessings from God. My wife and I would hold our hands along the future journey until the end. When I am about to leave this world, all my children, grandchildren, and many trusted friends will gather around me and reflect on our good and bad memories. All of them will commit to me to keep up the good fight for Jesus as long as they remain in this world.
Wow, Joe, that's just beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. Look at the smile. That brings a big smile to your face, doesn't it, when you read that?
Yes. Yes. And you're asking us to read it every day. And I enjoy reading it every day and feel proud of myself every day.
Yeah. Let me ask you, so that's important. So guys, we're running short on time here. We're going to go just a couple more minutes. But Joe, one of the things I challenge you to do is read this out loud every day. And what happens after you read this out loud? How do you feel?
Sometimes we are just bothered with everyday activities. You know, if my wife doesn't give me good smiling and, you know, feel depressed, if my children just talk back to me, you know, our mood and our emotion just got not very, very low. But if we read this dream, we know that's where our focus is and where our goal is, and give us a target, and so we don't get dragged down by the negative things in our life.
Pretty powerful thing there. So Joe, another thing that I asked you to do is to create unifying life principles. And I talk about these in chapter 3 and chapter 4 of my book. Would you mind reading your unifying life principles?
Yes, Joe's unifying life principles. This is a prioritized list. First one, faithful warrior for God and Jesus. Next one, honor parents.
Wait. Joe, you said faithful warrior for God and Jesus. And here you are in a group called Fighting for Your Family. So
We are
you're
all
kind of,
warriors.
I noticed you coming alongside of a lot of guys and praying with them and encourage them. That's because you're a faithful warrior for God. So you're living out your unifying life principles by doing that. That's kind of cool.
Yes. Second one is honor parents and seniors. Third one, loyal and tender love to wife. Fourth one, role model for children and lead them in the narrow and straight path. Next one, brotherly affection and love for everyone. Last one, enjoyed his life on earth to the fullest extent and left it in a better shape. It's kind of, yeah. Yeah,
now,
I'm proud of
that. You should be proud of that. You smile, man. I love to see that smile. So what impact has this had on you, this dream and these unifying life principles? Do they change your behavior? Do they change what you do day to day?
So everything I do, I can relate to one of these principles now. Like get engaged. Like I read the recommendation from Ron about a book called Tender Warrior, right? It immediately comes to my head. To be a warrior for God, this is my first priority. But how to be a warrior? I need to work on more, reading more, understand better, and honor seniors. You know, Mother's Day was last weekend, and I visited my parents, had dinner, and I'd called a lot of seniors in my life. And it's everything. If you can link back to this, you know, you have confidence. You are doing the right thing. Yeah, you just smile inside yourself.
I'm so proud of you, Joe. You inspire me every day with just your discipline and your growth. You shared with me a couple of weeks ago that you have a big dream, a much bigger dream. What is your dream of doing next? You grew up in China, correct?
Yes, and China is not a very religious country because of recent years of capitalist development, and also there's Christian churches there, but it's under pretty tight control. And I don't have around myself, I don't have many friends who are Christian and believe in a lot of things that's the scriptures in the Bible. China is also a very strong Buddhism country. So actually my father-in-law is a Buddhist. So it's kind of linked to those unifying life principles is I want to influence or help more people get to know Jesus and spread the good news. And I want to grow myself. There's still a lot to learn. I'm just the start of my journey. But I aspire to be a pastor.
Really?
Yes. Pastor. And I want to help with initiatives that can build more Christian influence in China or among the Chinese people in the United States, because there's so many people migrated to the United States now. So to become a pastor, I also aspire to get more education. I already had 3 master's degree, and I aspire to get my PhD in Christian studies. So I'm starting to explore that potential in the different universities.
Wow, Joe.
I'm 46 years old now. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So I just want to go back to, the title of this talk was The Power of a Dream and Vision. And Joe, 3 months ago, I think it was February, March, April, May, right? 3 months ago, we met and we had a conversation. And all of a sudden, your life is completely different today. Completely different, right? And it started from a conversation.
Yeah.
Started with a conversation, started with a couple of challenges, and it started with a decision on your part to allow yourself to be coached, right? To take feedback and to be coached, and all of a sudden your life is completely different. Your family is much stronger. Your marriage is stronger. Your relationship with your daughter and son are stronger. You have a vision for your future. You're pouring into other men. You're encouraging men in this group. Joe, I'm just so honored to be a part of your life and part of this journey, and so glad that Change University could help you. So if you could give one piece of advice to the men on this call, men who maybe are separated from their wives or struggling with their kids or have lost hope, what would that one piece of advice be?
So related with Change University, every time we meet, we talk about what went well and what didn't go well.
Yeah.
So every time I come to the meeting, I have 24 what went well and only 3 or 4 didn't go well. Of course, it could be that my life is perfect, but I just intentionally focus on positive things in my life. And I would encourage everyone to do that, even though you might be struggling with a lot of things, but to focus on positives. And it could be if you are going through the divorce process, but you have your son, you have your daughter, you have your parents, you have other people that love you, that you can focus on those. And there's a lot of impact when you focus on positive things. There's a lot of when you meet with other people, you focus on the positive things. So that would be one advice I would give.
Wow, Joe, that's pretty profound. That's really profound, actually, because what we do with Change University is part of the process is weekly reflection. And what I've discovered is a 10-minute exercise every week of reflecting on what went well and what didn't go well, and then sharing with the men in your group what went well. It reinforces the positive things, and it builds momentum very, very, very quickly. Very quickly. So, Joe, your advice of focusing on the positive, I think, is really timely, because unbeknownst to you or me, this fighting for your family group has grown very, very quickly. And there are a lot of people that are coming in, and there's a lot of people that are hurting. And what I've noticed is that you're always encouraging people, always lifting them up, always edifying them. And I want to thank you for that. And Joe and I have talked, and part of his internship with Change University is Joe wants to continue practicing his unifying life principles. So he's going to help moderate the group going forward. And I really appreciate you for doing that, Joe. I know that this idea of being positive, encouraging is something that we all need. And we really, really need it when we are going through negative things like separation and divorce. And I appreciate that, Joe. So thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. It's an honor to be part of the great effort, and I look forward to talk with more and more people in our group.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So with that, guys, I wanted to thank you for hanging around. I want to let you know that if you're in a situation where you want some help, I'd love to help you. I'd love to help you. I've got a link here on the board, changeuniversity.org/meet. You can schedule a free 45-minute phone call with me. We'll talk about your situation. We'll see if I can help and talk about the next steps. So with that, I wanted to wish everybody a great day. I want to say thank you, Joe. You are an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to the men that you serve. And I look forward to growing with you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.